I'm Michael Sean Harris, and you're listening to Mike's Moment of, a weekly podcast in which I, along with my guests, share our various interests in moments of inspiration, truth, life, technology, culture, and more. I hope you're entertained and informed, and that you feel inspired to join me again and again in my moments of. Hello, hi, welcome. This is Mike's Moment of, and this is episode 12. And I'm calling this one Turning Points. The special guest today actually is me. Fooled ya. No, seriously, yeah. Turning points, and when I say turning points, I'm really talking about decisions. And it's the way decisions affect you. And ways you even come to the decisions in your life at different points. And there's some specific points. And I'm going to talk about some stuff that happened with me, you know. It might not be in any particular order. Might be jumping back and forth on the timeline. So, yeah, it's all about the turning points and the decisions. All right, so I remember when I was in high school, I was at Woolmer's, and I was doing, you had to choose between quote-unquote the arts and quote-unquote the sciences. So the arts wasn't really the arts. I mean, I guess, it's language and history and that kind of stuff. That's what they call the arts. And then the sciences are, biology, physics, math, chemistry, those things. So parents like to choose for their kids. Anyway, so, I was doing the sciences. And even though there's an aspect of it that I love, I didn't really enjoy it that much, It seemed like the thing to do as well, that's get a good job. At the time, I don't think I really thought of the actual arts as a career, as a viable career. When CXCs came around, it was CXCs at the time, I think we had a hurricane. We had a hurricane. I mean, I'm not blaming it on the hurricane, I just didn't really study. So I had to repeat. I had to repeat for form. Anyway, got through that. Even though I said, could I change? And they were, no, you couldn't. So fine, went through that, went to sixth form and was doing the sciences again. That means that was painful. That was painful. But then once I was in sixth form, we had done this production. And I hope these people don't mind me calling the names. John DaCosta was in this production. It was written by Livingston White, who's now at UWI. It was called Not Just a Nightmare. And that was... I'd written songs for it. So he had written a script and I had turned it into a musical. So I wrote songs for it. I think this might have been my first time actually writing songs. I still have those songs. They're not the greatest songs, but I can still remember them. And I guess they're memorable. Who else was in there? Malcolm Arthurs, Michael Holgate was in there. Brian Moody was also in that group. I'm leaving someone else. It's okay. Anyway, so we did this thing for the school's drama festival, Not Just a Nightmare. And after we did it, I don't think we didn't win anything, but one of the judges was Kathy Levy. Kathy Levy came backstage and invited the entire cast to come and join Little People and Teen Players. Honestly, at the time, I had never heard of Little People and Teen Players. I didn't know what it was. When she came and invited us, I was like, what? In my head, I was like, what is that? I'm sure I asked Michael Hogan, what is that? What is Little People and Teen Players? I don't know if he had heard of it either. He might have, but I didn't. Anyway, so she invited us to come to the first meeting. So this was a decision. This was a decision because this was completely out left field. This was not in the plan. The plan was to go to UWI and become a doctor because my sister was doing that at the moment, and that was the thing, Yeah, you got doctor, lawyer, that was it. Yeah, so the plan was to go to you and do that. So went to the first meeting. It was at the Jamaica Pegasus. Went to the first meeting. Was a Saturday, and they were learning songs. They were learning songs for a Christmas show called Christmas Mix that they're gonna do on Christmas Eve, I believe. And so I continued going, and it's like I discovered something completely a different world, really. There are people from school that I knew too, and other people who I met. I've met so many people just because I decided to go to that meeting. That was a turning point. Really, that the decision to go to that first meeting was really a turning point. So, got really involved in performance. I thought I was involved in music because I was taking piano lessons and I used to love to sing and stuff before. But this was a different thing. We had to do movement. We had to do dance classes. We had to sing in a group like a choir, even though I was on the choir at Woolmer's, but again, something completely different. We were dancing and singing and performing in costume and stuff. This was different. This was show business. I made that decision to do that there. And I don't think my parents loved it then. Like, what is it? Let's see how it goes. But that was a decision. Anyway, after sixth form, because I'd started this while I was in sixth form, and I know that they wanted me to stop doing it like in upper six because we had A levels and stuff. But I never stopped. And again, decision. After sixth form, I went to UWI. And I was still in Little People and Team Players. Did natural sciences, what it was called at the time. This was a horrible, horrible, horrible experience. Again, a decision. But I guess you have to go through these things. In doing natural sciences, I was doing botany, and I was doing a math class with this professor who smoked. And when he came in smoking, the whole place was filled with smoke in the lecture hall. I was doing chemistry, and we had a chemistry lab on a Tuesday. I remember it was a Tuesday, and it would go the whole day, basically. I would never finish the lab. We'd never, ever finish the lab in time. Apart from the people that I met at UWI, again, it seems like this is a running theme. The people were wonderful people. I made some nice friends at UWI. But I only spent a year there because I did drop out, basically. Because, I wasn't supposed to be there, guys. Seriously. Let's be honest. It weren't meant for me. While I was there, I used to hang out with my friend Michael Hogate, and he was in the Faculty of Arts. So I'd go over there and have lunch with them sometimes, and kind of be jealous because I was like, "But you guys seem to be doing stuff that you really love." And even though I like my friends and stuff that I've made over at that side, I don't really see a future for me in this. I feel bored, quite frankly. I feel bored and frustrated all the time. So I guess I had to make a decision, and dropping out really was a decision because I guess I could have gone back and tried to, go back to you, but I didn't. And I kept performing. I wanted to do something more creative than what I was doing in my head. I guess, as we've said before in other podcasts and people have discussed, you can be creative as a mathematician, you can be creative as a biologist or a doctor or whatever. But that was my creativity was really artistic creativity. I've been an artist my whole life. I was painting and drawing and stuff from I was in prep school, and that was one of my best subjects in high school. Being on the choir or singing was always a thing that I loved doing. And then joining Little People just drove that thing home because all the little talents that I was kind of playing around with, the writing of songs and, the love of music and the love of acting and the arts and stuff, really kind of came home there. They kind of all came together and made sense in a way. So, okay, moving on. So, dropped out of UWI, right? And then I went to work because my parents were like, what are you doing? You have to find a job because you're not in school. Even though they're still supporting me. That's how they are. So found a job, Paulette, Mrs. Bellamy, suggested, there's this ad agency, creative advertising. We could get an entry-level job there. So I went to creative advertising and I started working there. And, Mr. McDonald called me his computer genius. I was no computer genius. All it was that I was familiar with the computers and the word processing and, changing the size of fonts and doing, just some design stuff that came kind of natural to me because I hadn't really studied it. So I was pretty much, designing and helping to print out the copy and stuff for these newspaper ads. So I think I did that for a month. I didn't last very long. I had to get up really early, guys. Really, it's not my thing. I had to get up at the crack of dawn, and it was like a proper 9-to-5 kind of job, That's not for everybody. It's really not for everybody, especially not the creative, artistic types. And is now I'm really coming to terms that that's who I am. Yes, I used to go there and used to have these ads. Used to do these ads for these companies that had, full page ads with all these different appliances or clothes. I think was it Lord and Lady or something like that, and another one that had appliances, and so you had to get these little pictures of the appliances and then put the price, what it was and what it is now with a big discount and then some big headings. And I think his name was Mr. McLaren, who used to put the ads together. So really I would type up all the things on the computer, size them, change the size, adjust the fonts and that kind of stuff, print them out. He'd cut them out from what I'd print, and then he'd use, glue and his little knife and stuff and arrange the ads. Of course, nowadays even then I'm sure you could have done all of it on the computer, but fine. They were used to that way, and so I was kind of bridging the gap. Anyway, he called me his computer genius. Boy, I get enough story today. So, but after a month, I was like, I feel dead inside. I don't think I said that then, but I still remember that. It just wasn't my thing. And I was like, thank you. It might have been more than a month. Was it more than a month? I don't remember. I feel like it was a month. And I was like, thank you guys. Gonna miss you, but no thanks. And then I had applied because, I love drawing and I designed, like, quote unquote, designed some buildings, and I was an artist. So I said, okay, what's another thing I could do? So let me apply to the college, the architectural school at UTech, which I did, and they called me in for an interview. So now apparently it was really competitive to get into that, to go and do architecture at UTech. Called me in for the interview, and then they recognized me because I was in Little People, were performing, we're on TV all the time, and in theater and stuff. So I think it might have been 3 people in the interview. And then, I feel like they were ready to offer me a place there. Actually, they did offer me a place because they liked what they saw, the things I showed them and how I spoke and stuff. But then somebody brought up, but we see you on TV. And, we see you performing and stuff, and, that's great, you're very good at it, but you're going to have to make a decision. It's very competitive to come here. You have to make a decision if you're going to stop doing that and come and do architecture or not. And I didn't hesitate. I didn't hesitate. I was like, I'm not giving up, because this performing and the arts was giving me life, honestly. And so I didn't hesitate. I was like, well, I guess I won't be coming here. Sorry, thank you, but no, I'm not giving that up. So I didn't do architecture. I probably would have been really good at it, actually. But all of us probably would have been good at many things. But again, it comes down to turning points. You make a decision. So if I hadn't made that decision, maybe I would have been building buildings here, around the world, wherever. But I made that decision. It's a turning point. You have to be true to how you feel, though. I guess I could have gone, okay, I'll give up on performance and on singing and on the arts, and I'll do architecture. And I know a lot of people do that. Some people do it, and they do medicine, or they do law, or they do business, or whatever, and they don't go back to it. But maybe it works for some people. Maybe it's not really their thing, the arts thing. And maybe for some people, they end up feeling that they are dead inside. I know people who have done those things, and then they've gone through and they studied it. And as soon as they get that degree in medicine or in whatever else, they're like, okay, great. My parents are happy I have this degree. Now let me go and do what I really want to do. Man, I have that kind of time. That was my decision. So I made that decision that I wasn't going to pursue architecture at the expense of this performing arts that I've really just discovered, 3 years, 2 years, whatever, and I am absolutely in love with. So, big decision. So, what did that lead to? That led to my kind of diving in full-time-ish with the performing arts, not having a job, really still being supported by my parents. Thank God for my parents. And while I was doing that, while I was in Little People and then in Ashe and whatnot, I had to make another decision. There was another turning point. My father said, this performing arts thing, it's only certain kind of people do it, and people going to talk about you and call you all kind of names, and you know what I'm talking about. Call you all kind of names and class you as this and call you that, and I mean, I am kind of rebellious. You probably don't even realize that I'm kind of a rebellious kind of person. I do it in a different way, but I'm kind of rebellious. So at the time, I was like, in my head, I was like, what is this man really telling me? What am trying to say? What kind of reaction is he trying to get out of me? In my head, I was like, what is he really saying to me that I must stop this because of what people are going to say? And so I said, no, Daddy, I don't care. I really don't care. They can talk about me whatever they want. And I mean, later on, we know the thing won't make for talk, but I didn't know that then. I didn't know the saying then. But yes, people can talk because that's what people are going to do. They're going to talk. So, but I said to him, I don't care. I don't care. So if you care, that's your problem. I don't care, and I'm going to keep doing this. So that little rebellious streak. Anyway, so I made that decision. I made a decision there that I'm not going to stop doing what I love. And maybe that was the start of my going, yeah, if these things don't feel right or if it feels good, I'm going to keep going. And I felt that I was growing and blossoming and unearthing these talents because I was involved in the performing arts. And I was. There's no question about it. So I made a decision to continue doing it. So I did. And then eventually I was like, I really do want to go back to school and study something. At the time, I had started kind of taking piano lessons again with Paulette Bellamy's mom, Lynette Case. And then I started taking violin lessons and viola lessons actually with Stephen Woodham, and I was doing voice lessons at some point with Pauline Watson. And I was like, this is fine, but I really want to get a degree in this, I think. But I've been performing. So anyway, I applied. I didn't know where I was going to go. I was looking at different colleges and universities when Ashley would go on their long tours in the winter or whatever. And we'd go perform at different colleges and universities. I'd collect brochures and I'd look at them. I'd dream about them. I remember dreaming about several places that had performing arts or had art there. And I was thinking, I could go to those places. But a friend of mine, Chris Jobson, was also looking at colleges, and I think I'd gotten a prospectus for Berkeley. He wasn't really interested in Berkeley, but he gave me that prospectus and said, this could be your thing. So I looked at it, and it was my thing. It was definitely my thing. I was like, wow, I can't believe a place like this exists. It seems absolutely perfect. Strangely enough, that was the feeling I had after the first rehearsal at Little People and Teen Players Club. I was like, this is paradise. This is like perfect. When I started looking through the things for Berkeley, I was like, what? You can study music engineering and you can study performance and you can study music this and music and everything is music. And then I looked at the facilities and of course, my chest high long time because I summer grow. And I mean, Berkeley's a private school. So it's named cheap. It was not cheap. So, and it isn't. And it still isn't. But yeah, so I'm looking at this and I'm dreaming about this for like a year. And I said, all right, I'm going to apply because it can't hurt to apply. So I put in an application, made an audition tape because they were still accepting audition tapes at the time, and sent it in. And I got a reply. I was accepted, and they gave me a small scholarship. Small scholarship never do. It was like a dent, a little. It was a dent in what the big thing was. And at the time, I was like, no. I was like, wow, I really need to go. I really want to go here, but I couldn't go. I couldn't go that year, so I deferred it for a year. And in that year, I started writing, to everywhere under the sun for scholarships or some kind of grants, because there's nowhere in Jamaica where you can get scholarships, and definitely not at the time. Nowhere in Jamaica you can get scholarships to go and study music. No way. So you had to try, different companies and see if they would quote unquote sponsor you. Now that is something that we have gotten used to when we're doing tours with Little People, and actually we'd write to companies asking for sponsorships. So I said, let me try this. But of course, Jamaica how it is, because when you look at me and say, oh, he's asking for sponsorship, nobody believes that you don't have money, because of the way I talk, the way I look, the way I whatever. So They don't believe that I couldn't afford, or my parents couldn't afford to send me there. But again, this place weren't cheap. So it was a lot of people turning me down and, kind of looking at me like incredulously, like, you need help to go to, but them lucky. That's not my problem. And that's fine. So yeah, I put it off for a year, and then I kept trying though, and I kept talking, and I eventually my father was like, okay, if you really want to go. And then he took out a loan. He put the house up as collateral and got a loan to send me to Berkeley. So he made a decision. I mean, thank God he came around. But I mean, I guess my happiness was more important. But he saw that I was kind of looking hopeless for the past few years after I dropped out of UA and then did that job for the 1 month. And I think he was just happy that I had found something structured and some kind of education, to further education. And I wasn't backing down. This was what I wanted to do. And yeah, so I mean, he did this amazing thing. I'm still so grateful to him and my mother for putting up. I mean, to put up your whole house for collateral on this loan. Wow. Anyway, so yeah, I was heading to Berkeley. So this was a big decision, though. This was I traveled, because Jamaicans and stuff travel a lot, but even being a performer, being in Asia and Little People, we travel even more than normal. We're traveling all the time. We're on tour or whatever. Plus, I travel because my family was in the US as well and in Canada. So, this moving away from home for this extended period of time, that means packing up stuff that you think you're going to need. You have to go through these things in your head. You kind of have to go through and go, oh, okay, what am I going to need? What can't I do without? And you kind of, it took a while to make those kind of decisions. And I will never forget, everybody kind of got involved. My mother's like, okay, you're gonna go to New York, or I think it was New Jersey, to my aunt Shirley, and she says she will drive you up to Boston because she has to go up there for something anyway, but she's gonna take you shopping for your winter clothes. Because I had some stuff, but I didn't have things for extended winter, not for Boston winter necessarily, and stuff that you need in your dorm room, because obviously I was living on hall, so I went to New Jersey to my aunt, and she took me shopping. She took me around and she told me what I need to get and that kind of stuff. And then we drove to Boston. Drove to Boston. My brother lives in Cambridge. Spent the first night, she dropped me at my brother's house. The first night I spent there, I think they were away that night or something. And I slept there. And the next day, I think I took a cab. If I didn't take a cab, my brother dropped me. I can't remember now. With my, 2 big pieces of luggage to 150 Mass Ave. And I remember, and this was my first time in that city, in Boston. I remember as I got to 150 Mass Ave, there was this guy who had fallen asleep at the traffic light. And I was like, okay, this is where I am now. But yeah, it just felt weird. So yeah, I went in, lugged my heavy things, it's everything I own, basically. Not everything, but everything I thought I'd need. And all this winter clothes and summer clothes and everything else. Books and music things, my instruments, my keyboard, my viola. So it was a lot of things. Walk down those stairs, was down the stairs at the time, down into the lobby of the 150 Mass Ave building, to those pinkish, purplish chiclet chairs. And got my assignment to the room I was going to go and lugged them upstairs. My roommate hadn't come in as yet. Went up to my room, chose a bed and stuff, and, started to unpack things. And, of course, this was, again, a big decision. But then I remember almost immediately upon reaching there, and that first night, that imposter syndrome that so many of us have, and I have it too many times, but it feels like I always have it. But imposter syndrome came on heavy that night. I remember even writing, I'm sure I still have this letter, kind of writing a letter to myself, to God, whatever, kind of going, what the hell am I doing here? And who thought that I was good enough to be here? I'm definitely not good enough to be here. I wish I could. I know it is, but I'm going to read it for you. It's not your business. But I'm going to tell you, I wrote this letter. I was like, I don't belong here. And I was so depressed. But sometimes we go through those things when we make some big decisions. This was a big decision. This was huge, right? And you know, as far as I knew, I might have been the only Jamaican there. I think there was another Jamaican there, but she had dropped out or something. She was there like 2 years before, or something like that. So I was really only Jamaican there at the time. So I was like, oh boy. So and then on top of it, we never looked Jamaican to enough people. So because what do Jamaicans look like? Huh? So yeah, that first night was like a test. But I couldn't leave anyway because after all you've been through, a year of deferral for a year and then a loan to go there for the first year. There was, I can't go. Oh, I'm not staying. That's just dumb. So of course I was staying. So and then after the first couple of days of orientation and all these exams and stuff, started class, and of course the little remnants of the imposter syndrome were there, but as you got to know people and you did your classes and you got feedback, you realize, okay, everybody's the same. Yeah, there are people better than you and people less talented than you, maybe. But everybody is kind of in the same boat and we're all kind of going through the same thing. This was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. Going to Berkeley changed my life. Going to Little People and Team Players changed my life too, but this changed my life again, right? So again, these are the turning points. These turning points in your life. Seriously, So did the first year of Berkeley, and I decided, okay, yes, we had this loan, for that first year, but it's gonna be rough. This is 4 years, and then I just decided I'm gonna do a double major. So I'm gonna be there a year longer than a regular major. Decided I was gonna do music synthesis, which is now music technology there, and contemporary writing and production. So I went home. I did 2 semesters. The first year, went home for the first summer. And then after that, I did 3 semesters. I did fall, spring, summer, and went to my brother or something, for Christmas or for whenever. Because even though I was going to do a 5-year program, this double major, I decided I'm going to do it in 4 years, which I did. So I ended up finishing it in 2000. And again, another decision, a turning point. But I'm glad I did the things that I did, because another decision was, are you going to do performance? Because you're a performer, you're in a performing arts group and blah, blah, blah. But I was like, I kind of know how to perform. Let me do other things that I'm interested in, because I started getting interested in production and in synthesizers and sequencing and that kind of stuff from I was in Ashe. Working on these musicals, helping to write the musicals, helping to create the tracks. And even though I wasn't what I'd call a quote unquote keyboard player. So I decided, let me do music synthesis, because that had to do with synthesis technology, and it felt like it was the next thing that's coming up, this cutting edge, which it really was, it still is. And then contemporary writing, because I was interested in arranging as well. So I did that. And then so a lot happened, there's lots of decisions going on, lots of turning points, but big one was just before I was about to graduate Berkeley. A friend of mine, Michael Anderson, who you met in another podcast, 2 podcasts ago, I guess. He had graduated the year before, and he said, okay, there's this ice show, there's an opportunity for after you graduate. Maybe you could work on this ice show and they'd be touring Europe and that kind of stuff. So, but the thing is, I had options. I had the other option I had was to do a 1-year kind of internship somewhere in the US after I had graduated. And I think up to that point I was looking forward to doing that. I was looking at the different places where I could go and have an internship, different companies or whatever. Then again, another decision, another turning point. So am I gonna work on these things and kind of establish myself in a city or a town or whatever as a singer, as a music synthesist, or as an arranger, or whatever. Or am I going to go and do this ice show? Okay, so before I even get to that decision, so I sent these demos of stuff that I was doing at school to the people for the Holiday and Ice thing. And the musical director and one of the production people, I think he was, they're in LA at the time. So he says, well, I mean, we heard your stuff. We're interested in having you audition. We're going to fly you to Los Angeles to audition for the show. So they did. And I think this was like my second to last semester. They flew me to Los Angeles. I think I spent like a night there. Flew me to Los Angeles, slept there. The next day, they picked me up and took me to this kind of rehearsal studio. It was like just a room with a piano, basically. And two of them were there again. Yeah, the musical director and one of the production people, Francois. And he was from Quebec, I think. And I went in, I sang. and then I said, okay, great. Can you just go outside for a second? And, they took 10 minutes and discussed something. I said, okay, can you come back in? We'd like to offer you the job for being the male singer with Holiday on Ice. And I was like, you sure? I realized I do this a lot. So it's like, are you sure? I says, yeah, we're sure. And then he says, yeah, so we're going to go on tour. We're going to have rehearsals and recordings, and then you're going to go on tour and that kind of stuff. And I was like, but I'm Jamaican, though. I don't know what that meant. I don't know why I said that to him. I'm not sure why I said that to him. He says, yeah, we know, but so we're offering you the job. So I said, okay, great. So I made a decision. I don't think I made it immediately. I think I went back and kind of considered it. Discuss it with my family, discuss it with friends and some other people. And I made a decision not to stay for the internship. And I don't know if it's a good or a bad decision, but I know that, again, this decision of going to sing with Holiday on Ice is another thing that changed my life. I met some really cool people there, and I saw so much of Europe. And to be in a show like that, which was, again, kind of cutting edge, technologically and even the show-wise, all these skaters, acrobats, musicians from around the world who are still like family. That was a big turning point. And again, it as a result of a decision. I got so much great experience from being in that show. Experience of touring, experience of being on the road, that kind of road life, experience of production, music production, show production generally, experience of Europe, different cities in Europe, cultures, different cultures in Europe, languages. I mean, not that I'm speaking any of them, but I understand a lot of stuff. And just experience of kind of living and working with people in a kind of close-knit environment for 3 years. I mean, we did that show, I think, over 600 times. That's a lot. And also to manage your sanity and manage your talent and your body and everything in that kind of... Because we're touring in winters all the time. We'd tour from like September, October till May, April kind of thing for 3 years, and then we get like some months off the summer. We go back and rehearse a bit, then tour again. So it was always either snowstorms or really cold or whatever. Apart from like when we went to Greece and a few other places where it was turning into summer, and so that's something you just can't. You can't buy that kind of thing. It's not an everyday kind of thing. I've had some seriously awesome experiences because of these turning points, these decisions that we've had to make. And so even at the end of those 3 years where the tour should have ended, and then it just so happens the tour should have ended, but then the tour director says, okay, the company has added a month to the tour. We will pay you this much to continue, to the extra thing, or we'll happily pay for your flights and you can go home. So, again, another turning point. I said, you know what? I'm going to do the rest of the tour. So I'm gonna come to Greece. So we went to Greece for a month, and we played in Athens, and again an amazing experience. I mean, you're seeing all these historical places. Went to Santorini and Mykonos and all these different places out near and around Athens. The Parthenon and just breathtaking. And then, of course, everywhere you go, there's places that for me anyway, that remind me of different parts of Jamaica always. When I was in Poland, there's some places that remind me of here. There's definitely in Greece, some places remind me of here. But yeah, so again, another decision, another turning point. So the next thing that I could have done is probably try to stay in Europe, go to England or go back to the US and again try and pick up that internship thing there. But I said, I really want to go home. I want to go to Jamaica. There's, this sense of patriotism or whatever it is, or giving back here, sure. So I went home. I went back to Jamaica. And it's funny because before I'd gone to Berkeley, someone had said to me, I remember I performed somewhere, it might have been Temple of Light or something, and someone was giving me a lift home, and they said, oh, I'm so happy that you're going to go to Berkeley. It's going to be a wonderful experience for you. Don't lose your culture while you're there. But little did they know that my head was always, I guess I looked at things in a bigger way. I was always appreciative of different types of culture and wanting to incorporate them. I was never really a reggae singer or a dancehall singer. I don't think anybody looked at me and thought that, and I never look at me and thought that either. So when I came home and, got back involved with Ashe and stuff, but it felt like I needed to be doing something else. And so I was really more teaching Ashe and performing with them now and then, but not in the way I was before. I was also teaching little people. I think, they're called players at the time. But I even started going to a studio. Me and Michael Hoggett were asked to write some songs for Nadine Sutherland. And we did. And so we met some people. We met Donovan Germain and some other people. We met Tony Rebel, and I think I even went to one rehearsal to sing for Buju, and then something happened, and I don't know, maybe I didn't. I just did a couple of rehearsals, and that was it. But I did sing on some of his songs, or one of them, backgrounds, on the recordings. But anyway, this was, again, an interesting experience of writing and trying to work with. But I remember feeling from this experience of working with that studio that the expectation was that you'd come and hang out and just sit around the studio all day, waiting for your boss. I don't know if it's because I just did 5 years of studying plus 3 years of touring. I was like, and plus I was creating music. I was creating music at home. I was working on stuff because I had my equipment and things that I had. So I was like, this is not really, that's not my way. I don't feel that this is what I should be doing, hanging out every day and maybe making a song, maybe not making a song. I recorded some songs there, but nothing was ever released as far as I know. Something might have been on a compilation. I don't know. Is it my high chest? Again, that caused that, but whatever. It is what it is, It was a decision. And eventually, I came and I went and started. I remember I think I was asked to come in for an interview, to come and teach voice at Edna Manley at the School of Music, which I did. And I started in, 2005 there. I think before I was asked to do that, I was asked to help with the graduation production, which me and Holgate wrote and did. So, again, another decision, another turning point. So I'm at Edna Manley and started teaching voice. I had maybe 11 students, I want to say, 11 students, because that's either 11 or 12. And some of you might know, like Siobhan and Carl and Ophelia, and a few others. The School of Music at the time was really kind of in two minds, which kind of still is now, but it was in two minds. There was, a really classical program. Most of the things were kind of like that. And then there was a couple courses that were pop and specifically reggae. Reggae and jazz, because there's a couple of teachers who were teaching jazz. But for me, I kind of realized that there's some things I could add to help it. To help it be seen as more of a viable option for studying, So music tech. So I suggested these music technology courses because that's what I studied. And so me and Peter Ashburn wrote 4 courses, and we helped design and a music technology lab. But the thing that I realized, because I had this music technology degree, and even though reggae and dancehall production was a big thing at the school, that wasn't necessarily a big thing. But some of the things that I knew, weren't even being used in Jamaica at the time, even now. But I don't think anybody cared. I don't think anybody cared. And to this day, I'm not sure why. I guess I would have had to have been more of an entrepreneur at the time to kind of do my own thing and get it out there. But I don't think I was that then. But yeah, so did that, created something called a performance lab, which was something that we had done at Berkeley. But I think even at the time, they let me do it, but it was with no credits, and I don't think the people generally kind of fully understood the value of the performance lab, and definitely the students didn't at the time either. They rebelled a lot. I mean, now the performance lab is what prepares them to do their final year shows, but but again, it was a decision to give back in this way. When you think about it, could I have been using my music tech and production skills in a better way? Who knows? If I'd gone somewhere else, or if I'd done something else other than teach, maybe, but maybe not. I mean, I think the fact that those courses now exist has made a big difference in a lot of students' lives, because really, I mean, everybody's a producer now. And these are skills that they could use. Everybody likes to teach themselves stuff, but there's basic stuff you could have learned here in these courses. So, lots of things we could talk about at the time, during the time of Edna Manley experience. But after 12 or 13 years of working there, an opportunity came up to go and help create a school in Africa, which I took up. I really considered, actually, before I said yes. I asked for advice, and the general advice, it was, it's something you have to go and do. You have to do it. It's an opportunity. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. So I took it up. Again, it's a turning point, because I kind of stopped working at Edna Manley and went and did this thing. But and this is something I'm sure eventually I'm going to talk about, but I don't want to go into the details of this yet. But it didn't work out, even at the time, though, while I was still doing it, I was going back and forth. And I remember seeing somebody I know, I don't know if I go, somebody I know who, someone who used to go to Edna and is a producer and a keyboardist. And I was telling him what I was doing. I said, I'm no longer there. And at Edna, and I'd gone to do this thing, and his reaction was, you sell out, and he wasn't joking, he wasn't smiling at all, and just go, you sell out, man, you sell out. I was like, what? I was like, are you just saying that to my face? Like, you just saying that to my face, like, I'm not here. What do you mean I sell out? Because I spent 13 years helping to build and give back and whatnot, and I did this different opportunity because it was something that felt right for me. He thought I sold out, but I still don't even know how to react to that. But again, his opinion, and people won't talk. But the thing is that opportunity, for many reasons, did not work out. Many reasons didn't work out. So I was like, yep, not gonna do this. Came back. I was asked to come back to Edna. When I came back to Edna, and again, this is a turning point, because I'm not sure if this was the right thing to do. Came back to Edna, and I got these all these attitudes from people. Like, why did you leave? And oh, well, you can't do that anymore because you're not in this position. So, it's like, what? I don't know why people thought that they had the right to say those things to me. Anyway, very weird, but working through. I'm growing and I'm changing. So, but again, it was another turning point. The thing is, it's like you can look back at some of these turning points, some of these decisions, these big decisions that you made, and make sense of them. At the time, in the moment, the decisions don't always make sense in the grand scope of things that they're operating in. Because a lot of these decisions, you have to decide. You're not going to know what the future holds. You just have to make a decision. You have to make a decision and stand by it. And there's no decision I made that I'm not standing by. I'm glad I did. I went to that thing to do the thing with the African school. I'm very glad I did it because I found out some things about myself. I found out some things about how I work and how I work with people and what things I won't tolerate. And there's a lot of things I'm not going to tolerate from people. I'm glad that I went to Berkeley. I met these amazing people. I've learned so much. There's stuff that I learned now, that I learned then, that I'm still using now, and there's stuff that I'm realizing I learned then. I'm realizing now that I learned then. Does that make sense? Let me say it again. There's stuff that I learned then that I'm still using now, and there's some stuff that I'm only realizing now that I learned then. Right. So the decision to not do medicine was obviously the right thing, obviously, and to continue with the arts and continue with music and performing, because that's my life. That's been my life, and it's probably gonna be my life. It's not like I'm not gonna change. I mean, I'm gonna change, yes, grow and change, but it's within this thing that I'm doing, and these various talents. It's not just one talent, so. I don't know. It's just something that I want to share with you. These things, these little turning points, and they come up. They're going to come up in all of our lives. The thing is that you have to make that decision. Just sometimes we hem and haw and we don't make the decision. Let's make the decision and stick with it, and then stick with it until something said, "All right, really? No, you need to go somewhere else and do something else." Then fine, do that. But the thing is that you cannot look back at the stuff the decisions you made and beat yourself up. You can't beat yourself up in the moment. You can't be in a state of indecision forever. You have to move. You have to keep on moving. You have to keep on moving. You have to move on. You have to grow. You have to change. You have to learn what you need to learn. And if you don't learn what you need to learn, you're going, somehow the universe is going to keep teaching that lesson until you learn it. And maybe there's several of those lessons that I'm still learning or relearning and unlearning. But I think I'm learning quite a few of them. It is funny because now we're in this quarantine time, this COVID-19 thing. And a lot of solitude. It's a weird thing, I mean, solitude don't work well for some people, but this alone time, it really. I saw a meme that says people were presented with their shadows and stuff. It brings up a lot of the little things that you've pushed in and you didn't deal with, and stuff with other people, but stuff even more importantly, the stuff with yourself that you have not analyzed, that you haven't understood, that you haven't dealt with. And it's good to bring them up. I mean, it's funny. I mean, this is why all these turning points, I guess, came to me. So, I don't know. It's just, I feel maybe like I'm rambling now, but, it feels like it's good to take this little time and do a little self-evaluation. And again, the self-evaluation is not to beat yourself up. It's to go, okay, yeah, this is the decision I made. What were the good things that came out of it? What would have happened if I did the other thing? But you see, those things don't make sense. Going, what would have or could have happened if I had made another decision? Because you didn't. And so it don't make no sense. You go back there and go, oh, this could have been, or I could have been this, or this would have happened. You don't know. It probably wouldn't have. So, because you never made the decision in the first place. So it wouldn't have happened. It never happened. It never happened. So you have to kind of be kind to yourself with this. These are decisions that I made, and this is what has happened, and these are the good things that came out of it, and the bad things that came out of it were just the catalyst for another decision, another pathway, another place you could have turned. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed my rambling today. I'm going to stop rambling now. And I hope you do, subscribe. Yeah, I know everybody's like, oh, here we go, the subscribe, like, and share. Yeah, but, it helps. Like, subscribe, share, talk about it to other people, send an episode to somebody else. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thanks for visiting my headspace today with the turning points. I appreciate your comments and your feedback. So don't be shy. I might look scary, but I'm not.